Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Brendan O'Connell. I have worked in Iran and done all sorts of things, been jailed for 3 years for offending Jewish communities well before it became popular. And to e-beg, let me now tell you the date is the 11th of January 2025. What are we going to talk about? Today, we're going to talk about, of course, Trump and the endless trolling. What does it all mean? All the dog whistles, all the data analytics. We are still stuck into that big picture of no one wants to talk about Susie Wiles, none of the Trump-tard MAGA e-grifters, and no one wants to talk about, of course, the Emanuel brothers, which are very big worries, and, of course, Chabad Lubavitch and his close relationship with Jared Kushner. Now, these things must be spoken about, and of course the MAGA crew aren't going to talk about it. The MAGA faithful, the base, of course, know about it and are kicking up, hence why we're going to see this continuous. Remember, I told you, not 10 years, 20 years of this stuff going on and on and on. So get ready for a long battle. Get ready to endure it all. Get ready to be happy. Don't get down. There's good times ahead. There'll be some ups and downs. Let's now get into some of the things that are going on. Of course, you all know about the fires. Well, I used to work in the Volunteer Bushfire Brigade. My father was the Chief Bushfire Control Officer for the city of Wanneroo, and I've attended lectures when I was much younger, and always had a bit of a fascination when I went to my first fire and nearly died, not died literally, but from the heat, from exploding gum trees, and you really realize the terror that can happen in a bushfire. Now, you may remember or recall the Ash Wednesday fires back in the late 80s. Mid 80s. These were absolutely horrendous, massive death toll in Australia. So yes, bushfires are very easy terrorist claims. It's very easy to start fires and cause hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damage. And it could quite possibly be that to happen. Let's now cross to let's now talk about each of these major issues. And then we'll talk about what they're not talking about. Mark Tice is mildly amusing. He's another Trump-tard who's making a fortune out of the whole Trump movement. He's going to tell us all about the woke firefighters, and it's way worse than we thought. Now, remember, this is how they're keeping everything to a contained narrative. They want a contained narrative. None of these people are going to talk what? City of London. I've got to keep repeating this over and over and over again. They don't talk about City of London, Bank of International Settlements, the Federal Reserve, bankers in general, the collapse of 2008, and the stealing of $5 trillion US taxpayer dollars, and on and on and on. The foundation system of funding, these culture wars, the culture wars of what are completely fake. They are funded by trillionaire bankers via the Soroses of the world, the Kissingers of the world, the various hundreds of foundation system, Clinton and otherwise, in each state, Kaiser Foundation in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who are also bringing in Unit 8200 Israeli Defense Force staff to come in and penetrate U.S. critical infrastructure. Mark Dice ain't going to talk about that. None of the Trump-tard MAGA e-grifters, coffee mug sellers are going to talk about it. Nobody, I repeat, nobody, doesn't happen ever. Only the smaller channels, and even then they barely talk about it. Or they touch on Unit 8200, or they touch on the USS Liberty, but they're not going to touch on the core. And this is why you have to understand how you're being handled. And then you have to get angry about it. You literally have to get angry about it and to force that MAGA base, the Trump-tards who are very hard to con these days, the Susie Wiles, they've got to keep this narrative up, and they've got to keep it ticking along, and they're going to keep the dog whistles where Trump's going to have a go at Netanyahu via a third party. Why does Trump have to go through Jeffrey Sachs, that moron, to have a go at Benjamin Netanyahu? Donald Trump can't do it himself. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's watch this garbage from Mark Dice, who I admit, off the cuff is mildly entertaining at least.
As always, when you start looking into these things, the Los Angeles Fire Department is far more woke than anybody could have possibly imagined. By now, you've heard that the LA City Council appointed the first female and lesbian fire chief, who then made it her top priority to hire more women to increase the diversity, because firefighting was mostly white and male, and a California program aimed to change that. Meet the assistant fire chief, who's also, just coincidentally, a lesbian as well, a black lesbian for triple the diversity.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better.
Of course, because in the backwards world of liberalism, if a black person calls 911 and needs a police officer, an ambulance, or a fire truck, then it's best to send some black police officers, EMTs, or firefighters.
So we see how they can maintain a narrative. You can see how they can contain a narrative into the right-left paradigm. What did they say, Boris Berezovsky and others? What has Adam Curtis taught us in hypernormalization and others? You create a polarized fake two-party system, and then you get them to fight over bullshit issues, right, which are completely fake. The culture war is not organic. It is a foundation-funded, horse-pucky narrative where they have put people in place and funded these movements and funded the universities to push it, knowing it's completely artificial. That gives you something to fight. You're not going to fight bankers. You're not fighting the City of London. You're not learning about Hoofjuden, Court Jews and Rothschild and the banking nobles, who are the 13 families of Europe who have infiltrated the Vatican, and they've infiltrated every major institution, including Israeli institutions, including Mossad. This Sabbatean Franca sexual deviant school of LGBT whatever garbage, all right? There was a day when you were just homosexual, you were same-sex oriented, gay, or whatever you want to call it, and you just went into long-term partnership with your partner and got on with your life, and nobody cared. And says, oh, such and such is gay next door, oh, whatever. Nobody cared. But now they've created this, even transgender, trannies. We had drag queens on Thursday nights in Perth, Western Australia in the 1990s when I used to do nightclub security. And I'd go around with the boss, everything okay. Someone would handle the trade night for all the fags over there at their nightclub. They would over there, you go, mate, everything's all right, no problems. And we go, the drag queens on a special night, and nobody cared. And these 6'2" drag queens began, don't touch what you can't afford, boys. We go, hey, you big poor blow, we're all laughing, have a good night. Nobody cared. Everyone just got on with it. Now, what did they do? They went in and radicalized and polarized. Oh, it's a war. The straights are out to get us. And what do they want? They want us fighting against what? Fat people, skinny people. They want us fighting on gender issues, sexual orientation issues. They want us fighting whatever. Just give us an issue, a fake issue, and we set them against each other. Meanwhile, bankers in $1,000 Armani suits or $2,000 Armani suits continue to create wars, misery, destruction, although that's coming to an end, and nobody goes to jail. This is the simple method. They've been getting away with this since forever. When I was online in the late 1990s, early 2000s, all we talked about were what? Bankers, Federal Reserve, City of London, Rothschild. That's all we talked about. Now we have all these fake issues and Mark Dice. And Mark Dice goes on that, we can understand these fires through this ridiculous woke culture, which of course Trump will come in and slay. The MAGA movement will slay. Susie Wiles, the Pfizer lobbyist and friend of George W. Bush and all the usual suspects, she will still be there, but you got the damn fags, boys. You got the trannies. You got the crazy woke agenda. That's the artificial dragon to slay. And when they're ready, like brown shirts, like the useful idiots, they'll just get rid of them, kill them, push them off to the side, and we'll just have forgotten and moved on to the next alien invasion story, and we'll have our new enemy to fight. And on it goes. And so what does Mark Dice say at the end of this? I think this is absolutely hilarious. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Of clothing, however, you can get free shipping on any of my shirts at markdice.com this weekend by using the promo code 2025 at the checkout. So order your Trump Fight 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 shirt, your classic liberalism find a care shirt, your war is a racket, Trumpomania shirt, or any of my awesome designs, all available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't see any bankers. I don't see any in the Fed or take over the Federal Reserve. I mean, how obvious does this have to be? So there are the wildfires. A lot of very rich people, including Mel Gibson, of course, have lost their houses. As someone who can tell you that, I can tell you countless stories of where Western Australia has a very strict fire burning off period to get rid of the underbrush every few years. That's why Western Australia has so few major fires now. In the eastern states, in some of the national parks, of course, quite rugged, but they refuse to burn off and they have these massive fires and they've got multi-million-dollar budgets. They love it. They love it. In Western Australia, they're just about not having major bushfires and being done with it. So they have very strict programs with fire breaks and burning off every few years to make sure you don't get accumulation. If you don't want to do that, then that's when you get wildfires, dry, hot winds, high winds, combined with probably arson. I mean, it's just too easy. It's too easy a terrorist attack. Throw in a match and you're causing millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damage. So Mark Dice can sell coffee mugs and T-shirts and tell you about the woke agenda. And Donald Trump doesn't have to explain Chabad Lubavitch, his 666 Fifth Avenue son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his whack job daughter. And, of course, the long relationship with Heinz Kissinger and the Emanuel brothers. None of that has to be addressed by either side, and this is going to keep up forever and ever and ever and ever. So remember, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll just keep calling out the fake dragon, fake two-party system, and we'll just keep on keeping on. Now, is something up this year? Yes, something is definitely up 2025. One of my favorite channels is What is Going On with Shipping with Sal Cogliano. That guy, I don't know, I just love person. He just seems like a real down-to-earth guy, knows his stuff, presents his material with a bit of a quippy sense of humor. And if you want to understand some of the big issues to do with shipping, which is supply chain, which is nothing more as important than supply chain, like I say, America, print the money, baby, build more aircraft carriers, dominate, dominate, dominate. Just keep printing the money. As long as the supply of goods and services is enough, you're never paying the money back anyway. It's all a joke. It's all fake. As long as the supply of goods and services remains, you're not going to get inflation or hyperinflation, God forbid hyperinflation, and everything's fine. Everything's fine. Long-term, different story, but short to medium term, everything's fine. America dominates, and it can keep the supply chains open. It's a bit iffy now with China because China still produces a lot of stuff like nails, nuts and bolts. Imagine that out of the supply chain. You move the nuts and bolts, how are you going to build a house? I mean, it's amazing when you think about it, and that's slowly got to be transferred down to Mexico and other areas and other places, over into India, over into Vietnam, over into Malaysia and other places. And that is happening. But where does Xi go? Remember, they always do a deal. But let's listen briefly to what Sal Cogliano has to say about Peter Zeihan. Now, Peter Zeihan, you must read his books or audio books. Peter Zeihan gets so much wrong in terms of small details, it's infuriating. Like sometimes I think, dude, you're talking about my home state, Western Australia, farming land. I know a lot about that. I was raised on farms. I know a lot about it. Durum wheat and fine merino class, one of the highest class wools and wheat in the world. Peter Zeihan has no idea what he's talking about. He said some stuff about Mexico. Mexicans just went, what is he even talking about? That's not even relative. But that's a big critique of Peter Zeihan. But you need to understand that in terms of big picture, Peter Zeihan is bang on. Watch his stuff for the big picture stuff. I wish I discovered him earlier. One of my patrons put me onto him, and a few weeks later he was on Joe Rogan. And everything I said to you, he says to you, which is America's going to be just fine, ladies and gentlemen. America is the biggest military in the world. The numbers don't matter. America can do whatever it wants. It can dominate. It can just print more money as long as the supply of goods and services is there. That's all. See, you keep thinking in terms of the financial markets or financial borrowings like mum and dad and the mortgage. No, when you're a nation state and you have $1 trillion military, you do whatever you like. Literally, you're only limited by the supply chain and the supply of goods and services. If you get shortages, then obviously inflation, eventually hyperinflation. Maybe in small sectors, but not in the large sector. Now, the great thing is America has all its own energy, can access other people's energy, and can do basically whatever it wants. China, however, can't. It can't produce high-quality, high-tech stuff. It doesn't have access to the oil and gas it needs except via Russia, which can be switched off just by withholding technology. Russia can't produce the tech, the chips, and the high-tech infrastructure, the CNC machines, the laser lathes. Can't get it. It's got to get it from Germany, South Korea, Japan, or America. And that can all be cut off from it. Okay? So there's no enemies. There's literally no enemies, okay? Doesn't exist. The enemies don't exist. Russia's a joke. There's no World War III. Anyone that says World War III is on the way, just laugh. They're selling coffee mugs and T-shirts. No World War III. The US is dominating. They're doing deals as we speak. Remember, the war in Ukraine has got nothing to do with Russia or Ukraine, winning or losing. The war in Ukraine is about the battle for Eurasia, splitting off Germany and France, which is Rothschild, from Russian raw resources and cutting off Russia from German, French high technology. That's the goal, to stop them coming together in the Eurasian trading bloc. Voila. End of story. 2 US bases go into Ukraine. Voila, US dominates the region on the Belt and Road Initiative. All right? That's what's happening now. So let's stop the horse pucky. There are no enemies. They're all fake. and they're all manufactured enemies. The United States can kill everyone on this planet 500 times over. No one can stand against the United States. They've been infiltrated, and when you go into Iraq and then you decide to destroy the Sunni administration and the Ba'ath Party, lo and behold, you get a giant insurgency. And what did the Pentagon say to Paul Bremer, the Tsar? They said, if you sack all the Ba'ath Party, if you create this divide, you will create a gigantic insurgency and you will kill a lot of American soldiers and a lot of Iraqi civilians. And Paul Bremer said, the 2IC of Kissinger and Associates remembers that, don't care, doing it anyway. He set the place on fire deliberately. This was part of the Eau de Genon plan, killed a lot of Americans, exhausted America. What was your job? Via Obama, after Bush puts them in, remember the German Jewish refugee with a Jewish philosophy, all right? You remember all that with Bush? Then it was Obama's job for the next 8 years to pull America back out, hand NASA to good old Elon Musk and do the business. Then came Donald Trump, the outsider, to finish the job. And thank God Mattis and Pompeo and the Skull and Bones boys got him under control. Not that they're necessarily my favorite people either, but you get it. Okay, now we go to Vince Gagliani on Peter Zion saying that the collapse of shipping is imminent, and Sal begs to differ. I love this channel. You should always watch it. This will get, when you watch these channels like car channels, car sales, how much things cost, you can get a lot of information and make a lot of predictions based on it. Like, I've never understood the prices of cars in the US in particular. It's just super high. It's only just now coming down to the point where it's absurd. They've run out of places to store the cars. And I'm always thinking, somebody told those car dealers and those car manufacturers that, look, there's going to be a war, supply chain cut off, and you're going to make a fortune on the cars. Just like the price of cars went up when they couldn't get all the chips and all that other stuff that happened. Now, I believe that's possibly what's coming. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But let's watch Sal pull apart Peter Zion. But will Peter Zion have the last laugh? Does Peter Zion know something we don't know? Because even for Peter Zion, his talk about shipping is pretty off the planet. But it's so off the planet, maybe he does know something we don't know, or we can only guess at, which is not war with China, but a blockade of Taiwan is coming. And this suits everyone, particularly the United States. Remember, blockade of Taiwan, all the big Taiwanese operators, high technology engineers, all the rest, people who have got a lot of experience with their manufacturing process, will all go to the United States. And the US will go, oh no, look at all the technicians we have for our new fabs. Yeah. Definitely a blockade on the way, in my opinion. Now, watch this.
Hey everybody, Sal Mercogliano coming to you from my driveway and the emerald pool that is my driveway that fills up every time it rains. Yeah, I don't know how Peter does this all the time. Well, let's go back inside.
On this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, Peter Zihan is prophesizing the collapse of maritime shipping.
It's a pretty
We better
big
call
claim.
Sal. I'm the aforementioned Sal Mercogliano. Welcome to today's episode. So we have a pair of videos from Peter Zihan on his world tour, wherever he's going to. I guess this week it is New Zealand, but he did a pair of videos right around Christmas time talking about the fact that, number one, we're going to see maritime shipping is going to be canceled, and then number two, maritime shipping is going to collapse. We're going to break down those videos, talk about them, and discuss whether or not Peter may be just a little bit, just a tiny bit, a little hyperbolic on that, maybe prophesizing a bit too much over that. If you're new to the channel, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be alerted about new videos as they come out. All right, let's go ahead and go right to the end. We're going to go to the very conclusion of his second video with his key statement.
All of this is happening at the same time. And one of the things I hit very hard in my my last book, The End of the World is Just the Beginning, talking about the end of globalization, is that the maritime order is based on trust. The trust that your ship will get there, the trust that the Americans will enforce the sea lanes, the trust that no one will challenge that. And all of that is now falling apart.
So I'd argue it's more than just trust. There are measures that are put in place to ensure that shipping operates the way it does. You have the registries, you have classification societies, you have insurance. There is a myriad of issues that are in place to ensure that shipping operates the way it's supposed to do. Now, we're jumping to the end here, and I'm going to come back to the beginning in a moment. But Peter kind of breaks those down earlier, and I disagree with some of how he breaks it down.
And in the book, I mentioned that, it doesn't really matter what it is that breaks this system of trust. I must admit, having Israel and the Houthis or the Finns and the Shadow Fleet on the bingo card, not specific things I predicted.
That goes to the issues of black swan events. We never know what the issue is going to be.
Let's stop there. Black swan events, ladies and gentlemen. There's the big one. Black swan event. Now, I'm sure you can work out. Remember how I always tell you that if 2 + 2 = 4, then 4 + 4 must equal 8. And once we know that this is true, then we can say, well, then this must also be true. We've already know that Hamas, Hezbollah are complete creations of Likud, City of London, and the banking system. And you're going to learn a bit later on when they were saying that they have proof that Russian GRU were paying the Taliban and so on to kill US troops, that they were tracking all this money. So you can track all this money. Hezbollah are a multi-billion-dollar operation every year, weapons and so on, paying people wages. But apparently no one can work out how Hezbollah is getting paid. It's all a mystery. Of course, it's all garbage. The US elites know exactly. That's why it's now been wiped out. They've told Bibi, Likud, you will dismantle your terror network. There is no Islamic terror network, organic. It is all fake, funded through the Wahhabists and Saudi and City of London. They fund the madrasas to create the lunatics who then go out there, Allah Akbaring and conditioning their beautiful beards, playing their role. Most of them, of course, sincere people who have been insulted, murdered, killed, religion insulted, culture insulted, language insulted. I can't believe Arabs in particular, and Muslims aren't even worse. I tell you what, you do that to me, I'd be suicide bombing, but I wouldn't because you can only do it once. I mean, I can't believe Arabs are as calm as they actually are. The point is that you've created the Islamic terror network so that you create the enemy of the City of London and Likud and the Israeli state becomes everybody's enemy. Muslim terrorism, it's completely fake. Hamas, they're all running around in 5-star hotels in Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt, which are dominated by the Western imperialist City of London bankers. And we've all worked out what horsepucky it all is. Do you seriously think the Houthis with their sandals and their cut lunch and their AK-47s and their radio-controlled planes are cutting off the Suez Canal? And, Israel's, what do we do? America's, God, we've only got $1 trillion military. What do we do? Call in Team America. Oh my God, I'm confused. I mean, it's such gaslighting. It's ludicrous and absolutely ridiculous. But here we are. So what, of course, that is they're putting pressure, not so much on Egyptian elites because they're already in the bag. The Saudi elites, they're all in the bag. It's the people, it's the local populations are scared of. We can't kill them all, not until they get the robots and the drones. So what they're going to have to do is so they can convince those bright young colonels, whether it's in the UAE or Saudi, look, man, we've got to do peace deals with Israel. We've got to put the Palestinians in the Sinai. We've got no choice, man. We're losing money. We're going to fall apart economically. And slowly that managerial class and a portion of the local population will say, we don't like this, but we're willing to accept it. And that's what they're working towards. All right. The Gaza Strip is finished. All right. Kiss it goodbye. The West Bank's going next. I told you Syria was gone. How long did that take? 2 weeks? Maybe Syria's not going anyway. It was gone in 2 weeks. Hezbollah, I told you would go. How long did that take? Hamas, gone. Thanks for coming. I'll just put another tick. I said you can't take on Israel, City of London, by force of arms. You can only do it via an information war and cozying up to Americans and saying, free America, free the world. But no, me and Sufyan, I was in Iran, we went to Lebanon, we tried our best, no one gave a shit, so there we go. Now you've seen the results. Okay, so moving right along. Black Swan events, Peter Zion. Peter Zion knows something. Normally he would be so wrong it would be laughable. Peter Zion knows something is up. And I believe that will be not an invasion of Taiwan, which they cannot pull off, unless that is absolutely arranged. That's possible, but I doubt that very much. What you're going to have is a blockade. Why? Because in this age of constant moving news cycles, you want as many news cycles as possible, because particularly in this critical 4 years under Trump, you're going to see changes you will not believe. It is going to be a roller coaster so fast, you are not allowed to catch your breath. They don't want you catching your breath. It's going to be go, go. And you're going to see this over and over again. We're invading Greenland. We're taking over Canada. Well, they might just take over Canada because, to be perfectly frank, Canada doesn't actually have a choice. They might actually become a state. Is that NAFTA? Is that the North American Free Trade Agreement and the North American Union? No, it's not. It's something completely different, but you've got every right to question that. I say remember I said 2 months ago, the United States must take over Canada. And people thought I was joking. I said, I'm not joking. It's got to take over Canada. And lo and behold, look what's happening. I promise you, it's highly likely that Canada is going to end up literally as a state of the United States. It sounds completely impossible, doesn't it? Completely impossible. I'll put it to you that Canada literally doesn't have a choice. All right. If Trump just said, we don't need your cars, we don't need your milk, we don't need your cheese, we don't need this. In fact, we don't need you at all. You need us. We don't need you. What benefit do we have? All right, go away. We don't need you. Go and find someone else to play with. And Canada's like, what do we do? Man, I'm telling you, the changes that are coming just in the next 4 years, you're not going to believe. All right. So with that in mind, Black Swan event, Greenland. It's not far-fetched. They're just laying down the law. The only stupid thing, which is just stupid, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Again, it's trolling. This is the aspect of the trolling that's going on here, keeping everyone busy. All right, Claudia Sheinbaum's going to do exactly what she's effing told. Mexican elites are very happy teaming up with America. They're very happy, all right? They know which side their bread is buttered on, and it's going to be very good economically for Mexico and generally the people. The infrastructure projects are going to go in. You're going to see better schools, more roads, trains are going in. You wouldn't believe. There's stuff just in this area where I am, man. It's freaking crazy. Trucks going everywhere, factories going up everywhere. Just the beginning. It's going to be huge. It can be a very exciting time as well, but we've got a few problems we need to talk about. But Black Swan event, it's got to be a Cuban Missile Crisis blockade. It's got to be high on the very list. Again, it'll all be arranged. They'll be doing deals with Putin. Remember, Putin can't survive. He can't supply the industrial controller chips for his technology. His missiles won't. Does everyone forget his we're going to test our big Satan nuclear ballistic missile, take that. And it just blew up in its silo, and then we heard no more about it. Putin's a joke. Russia's a joke. They're very bright, intelligent people. They have no industrial base. They don't have the industrial base. All right. They can't build stuff because they can't build a damn TV. Give it a rest. All right. They have no high technology capacity whatsoever. Everything they get comes through Germany, comes through South Korea, comes through Japan, and of course the United States. It's like when they were literally buying millions of washing machines from Germany for the industrial controller chips. It wasn't a joke. They couldn't get them. Then got old Kissinger very kindly $400 million of industrial controller chips popped. And oh my God, where did they come from? And his Lancet, and he got his technology back. Got his Lancet drones and his cruise missiles, Kinzhals, and all the rest. He can't keep his planes flying, people. They're just smuggling in stuff. It's being handed to them, prolong the war. Lockheed is very happy. They've got a battle management system to create, and we'll talk about that more in the future. That's going to be a big issue because that's going to tie in with AI and drones. God help us. So, Black Swan event, they're keeping everyone going. China has no capacity. Their military is a joke. It's not a lie. It's not propaganda. Their ballistic missiles were filled with water, literally. They were filled with water. China is worse than Russia. They're a joke. They couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. They can only kill unarmed civilians. It's a joke. And they maybe got 800 million people, not 1.4 billion. They are in, so it makes perfect sense. They do a deal. Xi, over a period of 3 or 4 years, locks down his people, plays the enemy. They do a blockade of Taiwan, which will go on for, I don't know, a month, 6 months, 4 years. Don't know, but it could go on for a considerable period of time. Keep that news cycle. A local COVID. It's not going to be worldwide. It's going to be very localized in India and China. It's probably going to kill a lot of people, genetically engineered, or at least the appearance of a virus. I'm already laughing at the reporting coming out of China. Oh my God, I've got aches and pains. It's the worst pain I've ever had. Yeah, I've had a bad flu too. As a former registered nurse who has worked extensively in hospitals and ICUs and pumped nitrous oxide down people's throats, I have seen the secondary infections and pneumonia, what we call it white lung now. Yeah, it's called pneumonia. People drop dead all the time, young and old, in flu seasons. The worst flu season I've ever seen, and it's probably the worst on record in Western Australia. My home state was 2006, 2007, or was it 2007, 2008? And it was bad. Kids were dropping dead. They weren't even getting to the hospital. It was bad, far worse than the COVID horse pucky. But localized COVID, a blocking off of China and all the rest, and it'll be very localized. We can still go to Cancun, we can still go to Bali, but you're going to see a localization as Xi gets his local populations under control, and then they are going to probably go back into China. Tesla will go back in minus Musk, and people are going to make a heap of cash. Trump's going to make a heap of cash. Everyone in on the Trump administration scene is going to make a heap of money out of Tesla, but God willing, it'll be minus Elon Musk. And there we are. That's the Black Swan event that is coming. What else can we talk about? There's a whole bunch. I'm going to cut this short, and I'll tell you why. I will be getting down to a daily video. I've been saying that for over 2 years. I want to do a daily, then I'll have a gap because I want to spend the next day uploading to YouTube, and I want literally my entire collection. A new video every day is going back up on YouTube, plus my more original videos as well. And I've got to upload them. I've got to remove all the swearing, look up transcripts on DaVinci Resolve and remove all the effing and all the rest. And then I've got to try and go through and make them palatable for YouTube. So that's my next big project in the coming months, of course, doing Kay Griggs talks and cutting that up. I've at least upscaled it and got it all ready to go, all 7 hours and transcribed. That was a big enough job. Then it's got to all be chopped up. Let me now talk a conclusion. Black Swan event, I definitely believe that we are up for something big, but not big, but big enough, and a long-running series of events, which will include a blockade of Taiwan. Taiwan, it makes perfect geopolitical sense to let it go, give it to China in the long run. But that China may not be the normal China we see today. It may be a completely reinvigorated one with new smart cities and new technology and a completely locked down population. All the elites worldwide are taking notes, getting ready to lock everyone else down. I do not trust what is coming. I've just told you that you need to engage with the system, and the only system worth engaging with is Trump. But I've warned and warned and warned. I'm not seeing anything stopping the use of technology, particularly AI and fully autonomous killbots. They're orgasmic over it. I'm not seeing any stopping of that, and that worries me intensely. It's a huge worry. However, you're going to get a lot of doom and gloom, World War III, horse pucky. No one's doing anything. Everyone's shit scared. There's no war coming with Iran. If it is a war, it'll be the shortest war you've ever seen. I've been to Iran, unlike you. They're completely incompetent. The left hand, Iranians tell me this, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. They're a freaking joke. They're all best friends with Lord Jacob Rothschild, all hanging out together over in Germany and Switzerland with their little boy parties. Then they've got to run back, condition their beards, put their little turbans back on and play Shia scholar. It's all garbage. The only real revolutionary in Iran is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. God willing, he will come back, and he's smart. He's geopolitically smart. And he will do a deal with the US to put Iran in the hands of the United States. That's what you want. United States dominates the region. Hamas, Hezbollah, all been done. Likud, Bibi's going nowhere. Oh, we have to end on this. Trump. If you didn't know, could Trump's sharing of scathing video offer a glimpse into his relationship with Netanyahu? No, they hate each other. I know that for a fact. Let's watch this, but that's only because Bibi was mean and nasty to Donald. Now, if you didn't know, Jonathan Thacks is a complete toss bag. I mean, he's like, I don't know, one of those clowns they bring on, and they've got a PhD, and they're the stupidest people you've ever heard in your life. He's going to get up there and say, "Oh my goodness, poor Syria. Assad was such a nice guy. The Syria, he's intelligent. You know, why are you so mean, America?" I actually believe these are intelligence actors, and they're working for U.S. intelligence, and they know what they're doing. And this is the little game that's being played. So you listen to this garbage.
The war in Syria, and you may actually hear from grown-up reporters who are lying through their teeth or ignorant beyond imagining that, oh, the war in Syria, yes, Russia intervened in Syria. Well, do you know that that Obama tasked the CIA to overthrow the Syrian government?
Yeah, I don't think so. Here we go. Russia intervened in Syria. Russia intervene. I wish I could write on the screen. Intervene. What does intervene mean when Russia intervened? Russia laid waste to all the major cities, not ISIS, Russia and Assad with artillery, dumb bombs, cluster munitions. So when Jeffrey Sachs sits there and goes, Russia intervened. Russia's been in Syria for 70 freaking years. 50 years plus. It wasn't just there suddenly. It's been there forever with its base, its naval base in the Mediterranean there. Good. What did I tell you? I told you they were going to be kicked out of the region. They're gone. Slip of the fingers. But here he is saying Russia intervened. Russia didn't save Syria. Russia destroyed Syria while he's handshaking with Benjamin Netanyahu getting ready to do deals on the big Eurasian trading bloc. And all the Putin bros missed it, apparently. All the whores, including this whore, Jonathan Sachs. So these people are just, they're shameless. They've got to be all pedophiles and they're reading their script out of desperation because to have to say this stuff that they say. He intervened. They laid waste to Syrian cities and killed 500,000 Syrians. Bibi could but dream of killing 500,000 Syrians and laying waste to it. Hello? Did you see the plot? Dear Lord.
Starting 4 years before Russia intervened. What kind of nonsense is that? And how many times did the New York Times report on Operation Timber Sycamore, which was the presidential order to the CIA to overthrow Bashar al-Assad? 3 times in 10 years. This is not democracy. This is a game. And it's a game of narrative. Why did the U.S. invade Iraq in 2003? Well, first of all, it was completely phony pretenses. It wasn't, we were so wrong, they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. They actually did focus groups in the fall of 2002 to find out what would sell that war to the American people. Abe Schultzky, if you want to know the name of the PR genius. They did focus groups on the war. They wanted the war all the time. They had to figure out how to sell the war to the American people, how to scare the shit out of the American people. It was a phony war. Where did that war come from? You know what? It's quite surprising. That war came from Netanyahu, actually. You know that? It's weird.
Weird? It's surprising, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to what he says. They intervened in Syria. It's weird. It's surprising. He doesn't tell you about Ode Janon. Why is he going, it's weird, it's surprising? And yet he'll just still tell you that 19 Arab hijackers destroyed the World Trade Center. He'll still have that. He's got that narrative down. He's still talking that narrative. How the fuck does he even show his damn face on this garbage? Are you pleased with this dog whistle from Donald J. Trump? Is Donald J. Trump going to just tell us face-to-face himself? Or is he got to use this PhD clown, another Dershowitz who was probably on Epstein Island, is telling us, oh, wow, did you know that this came from Netanyahu? Oh, my goodness. Listen to this groundbreaking. Maybe he'll talk about Christopher Bolin and tell us all about Amit Yaron. And we can talk about the deep penetration of U.S. critical infrastructure and Unit 8200 and Telpiot program and all the rest. Maybe he'll tell us about that. Not going to tell us a damn thing, ladies and gentlemen. Never. I just saw some things happen, and I wonder if my thingy has just gone really crackly. Am I crackly? If it is, we're going to keep going because I know what they're up. Anyway, so there's Jonathan Sachs. Now, is there any reason, dog whistle, squirrel, look, please keep voting for me and don't look at Susie Wiles and the Emanuel brothers. Is this groundbreaking to you? Oh, my goodness. Man, I've seen reports with good old CNN. Do you remember? With Seymour Hersh and what's-his-face going the neocons, the Jewish neocons. Are we supposed to be amazed at this great revelation? There's no revelation. Give me a break. I've heard things 10 times better 15 years ago. And when have we had enough of this dog whistle from this clown Trump and the whole MAGA movement? I tell you what, they're desperate. No one's tolerating Susie Wiles and the rest. There is a backlash brewing against the Trump train, and they better try harder. Publicly renounce Chabad Lubavitch as a hostile foreign entity that needs to be deported out of the United States. Not in Israel. They can go to Ukraine, and the Ukrainians can have fun with them. Listen, you've got to get sick of the limited hangout. Get sick of it. So if you insult me with another bullshit garbage, Donald Trump could very easily stop tweeting this garbage and just say, Benjamin Netanyahu has done some very bad things to our country and I'm not happy about it. Critical infrastructure, Unit 8200, Telpiot program. He can come out and say this, but he's not going to say it. Because these are the dog whistles. I don't know about you, but are you sick of them yet? This is also meant for the management class, the people in the CIA and all the intelligence community, state and federal authorities too, to say, well, something's happening. But is something happening? We hope so. I think it is, but it's like parachuting. I think I packed my reserve parachute right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Now, you want to be damn sure. You want to be 100% sure your reserve parachute is packed correctly. And it's the same with these endless horse-pucky dog whistles. They've got to stop now. Donald Trump's got to come out and just say the truth instead of these 5D chess horse-pucky. This clown, I've had enough of this clown. I do see good things going on, but it's time. It's insulting. I find it personally insulting that this is the best they can come up with. And Jeffrey Sachs, the angst and the pain. Ukraine's corrupt. I mean, imagine this argument I've heard again and again of the corruption of the Ukrainian oligarchs. Who was their best friends using the corruption in Ukraine? That would be the Russian oligarchs and Putin. I cannot imagine anybody sitting there carping on about the United States while defending, whether actively or by omission, Russia and various other entities. I mean, for God's sake, Assad's been working with British intelligence with his wife, who was a Deutsche Bank executive, for freaking 30 years, 40 years. In this game, this horseshit City of London game, it's freaking over. But what's it going to be replaced with? I suggest to the clown show, the Trump clown show, that you can't fool your Trump-tards like you used to. It's getting more and more difficult. They're not going to tolerate Susie Wiles and co. And I've got to catch up on a lot of the news. So I rely on you to, if you can't get out there on the streets, you can definitely keep watch on the War Room with Bannon and a whole host of stuff. Tell me what's going on with the Susie Wiles of the world and the rest of them and the Emanuel brothers. You're not going to get away with the World Wrestling Federation, UFC, Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, horse-pucky anymore now. It's just not happening. Israel is not going away. Jerusalem will be the capital. It will be a secular state. And it's time now. And it's time for you to get angry. I'm begging you to start. I can't tell you what to do. All I know is neti. Not this, not this, not this. What you do after that is up to you. I know what I'd be doing, but what are you going to do? I've watched dog whistle after dog whistle. People screaming with delight, they're talking about the USS Liberty. Man, we talked about the USS Liberty, including the mainstream, for 20 freaking years. Let's talk about 9/11. I'm still watching these internet heroes tell me that 19 hijackers attacked the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Sorry, you're still repeating that narrative. I mean, seriously? Will the name Christopher Bolin ever be repeated by these people? I mean, seriously. Man, our standards are really low. It's time to raise the bar. Its time is now. I assure you that Mary Silver is not forgetting 9/11. It's not going away. And there's going to be an accounting over those events. Look at what's in front of your face. Men think they're women. Oh, my goodness. The woke agenda. Let's talk about 9/11 and Israel. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about 9/11 and the deaths of 3,000 Americans and wars that followed. They killed at least 2 million people in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, and all the rest. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about things. Let's talk about the 2008 crash and $5 trillion stolen from U.S. taxpayers. What do you think was funding the Belt and Road? U.S. dollars. Let's talk about these things. What are we going to talk about them? Well, we can't. We're talking about the woke agenda. And then Jeffrey Sachs, our PhD expert, is going to come out and say, did you know? This is very interesting. Look, I'm so clever. Netanyahu sold that war. We'll say, did you non-plan? I mean, we read about that 20 freaking years ago from the great Israel Shahak. Professor Israel Shahak translated it. For crying out loud. And he's an Israeli citizen living in Israel, a professor at Bar-Ilan University, a professor of chemistry. He also wrote one of the greatest books ever written, Jewish History, Jewish Religion, The Weight of 3,000 Years. And we're going to go into that book. Now imagine this guy who's spilling the beans just like the Israeli press is spilling the beans now. He wasn't assassinated. That's how divisive and divided the state of Israel is. And that is how Likud is a very small, it's not a political party. It is a City of London enforcement arm. They are common criminal thugs, drug traffickers, sex trade, organ trade. They are the lowest, they're lower than shark shit. They're not a political party. They're not an ultra-right-wing political party. They're sick, demented nutcases on a mission. So, ladies and gentlemen, when the dog whistles, the woke agenda, Mark Dice is selling, don't forget to like and subscribe, buy my merch. We're all going to die, but buy my merch. At some stage, this circus, I laugh at it. Sometimes I just laugh, but then I think, this is not funny. This is not funny. So whatever you choose to do, I urge you to, at the start, get freaking angry and say, I am so sick of this insulting mind. Not only is it all a lie, it's not even clever lies. It's not even clever lies. I mean, they're just insulting your intelligence. And I think most of the time, like a Tommy Robinson, they're putting people out there to be caught. And you're meant to have someone you can attack and go, oh my God, he's a coke rat stealing people's money. Another issue, drag queen story time, the woke agenda. It's just another, they'll put another clown out there for us to discover, another clown, another dog bone for us to gnaw on, so we can gnaw on that bone instead of standing up and go, wait a minute, what's going on here? Pricking our ears up and sniffing the wind. We need to talk about Israel, City of London, Hoof Jude and Court Jews. We need that narrative. Foundation system, roundtable groups, Cecil Rhodes, Club of Rome, Davos, Bilderberg, all the rest, Council on Foreign Relations. I mean, we don't even talk about the Council on Foreign Relations Trilateral Commission anymore. Man, they have completely taken over the narrative. It's outrageous. And there's just, everyone's there. Tim Pool's there making another $1 million. Tim Pool should be looking over his shoulder for the rest of his life. Now, I'm telling you, look, a threat to kill is a very serious thing. And I have no capacity to kill Tim Pool or anyone, but I simply want to make the statement that if you're going to keep lying and know you're lying and taking money on a lie, Tim Pool knows exactly what's going on. He knows who I am, as does, Alex Jones knows exactly who I am. They all know who I freaking am. I'm half of them. They're all contacting me. I'm their hero, but they'll never mention my damn name. And, you've got to get tired of this. These people need to go, I either need to leave the country and head to London like all the rest of the rats and get the hell out of here, or I need to change and start telling the right narrative, or you'll be another Scott Bennett with a sudden aggressive cancer in pancreas or liver or whatever it is. I think, I'm going to say this to you right now. There's things that are going to start happening, and they're going to start cleaning up, not just Hamas, not just Hezbollah, not just their Islamic terror network, all of their network. So I'd be very, very worried if I was you, because Scott Bennett and a whole range of people is just the beginning, if he's not in witness protection at FBI safe house. Look, most of these people, Tucker Carlson, are working for US intelligence. They're running in going, I love Putin, and then they're running backwards and forwards with messages, and they're just maintaining the contact with these things. All right? And they're maintaining narratives, they're maintaining polarization, and they're maintaining the scenes of a vibrant democracy and a vibrant news cycle. Let's talk about City of London, Rothschild, roundtable groups, foundation funding of all these penetrative woke culture horsepucky. This is the subversion that Yuri Bezmenov told us about, the Frankfurt School, the sophisticated communists. We need this narrative, and I ask you to start this narrative by getting damned angry at the insulting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk again very, very, very soon. Remember, they're going to keep coming up with endless narratives for us to talk about. Let's talk about the things that matter. Talk soon.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American, because that's what it's all about, and it's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom.